It's the Pikachu Project.
Hello and welcome to the Pikachu Project Project, a spoiler-filled re-ranking of all 22 Pokemon movies. We are your two expert hosts. My name is Gigi. I have seen every episode of the anime, really this time because we actually just caught up on the Sun and Moon anime yesterday.
And I am Walex. I'm a doctor and a big Pikachu fan, feeling stronger about that than ever after some of the movies that we've watched and other Pikachu-associated experiences. Oh yeah, especially namely the end of the anime, which redacted, spoilers, watch the rest of the Sun and Moon anime.
Yeah.
I recommend. Big Pikachu fan right now.
Yeah. So, once again, this is a podcast where we watch all of the Pokemon movies, which we watched once before, and we ranked them. We're watching them in our previous rank order, so from what we considered the worst to what we considered the best, and we're seeing if we want to shift their ranking, and seeing what new list we end up with. This is only the Pikachu Project movies, so that's the movies that say they're associated with or produced by the Pikachu Project, the movies that start with an M on Bulbapedia.
Yep. M1, M2, M22.
Yeah, so for each movie, we'll give a brief summary of the movie. We'll explain where it was ranked previously and why. We'll talk about our experience watching it again 5 years later, and, 5 years later in most cases, and whether or not we're going to re-rank the movie. So do you want to get started?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So we have 3 exciting movies to talk about. The first one is called Pokémon the Movie, Diancie and the Cocoon of Destruction. This one, for historical things, was the first movie that we watched that kind of got us into, maybe we should watch all of them and start ranking them. So it has kind of a special place for us.
X and Y was where I really got back into Pokemon. I hadn't played since I played Ruby a bunch and on my Game Boy, and then Fire and Leaf Green came out, and I got those, and I really was not into them, so I kind of jumped off the Pokemon train, plus I didn't have, my own DS or anything. Then in college, X and Y came out, and I was like, whoa, Pokemon's 3D, this looks exciting, I love Pokemon, so I got back into it. And then we later started watching the anime together.
Yeah, the XY anime was where we jumped back in because we were like, this show's really good.
Yeah, the XY anime is really good. So we ended up watching the movie, I think, because we just saw it on Netflix or something.
Yeah. And it's still on Netflix right now.
Yeah, and then we were thinking, we realized, they've made a movie every single year. Yeah. Maybe we should watch these. So that's kind of where the idea started.
Yep. So
let's jump into our summary.
Yeah, so Diancie and the Cocoon of Destruction is a fairly simple movie. It starts off with a bunch of Carbink and Diancie in the Diamond Domain, Steven Universe confirmed.
Yeah.
And they're all saying, Diancie, one day you have to learn how to make a heart diamond, because this heart diamond's not going to last forever, and you got to learn. She's like, oh, whatever, you're exaggerating, but whatever. I'll do it. And she tries to make a heart diamond and cannot complete the process. And so the Carbink are like, you gotta go meet Xerneas, who is the life god person Pokemon. And so...
And Xerneas' fairy aura will help you have the power to create the heart diamond.
Yeah. So off she goes on her journey. And you cut away to Ash and friends. After the title card and the world of Pokemon and the thing that happens every time. Cut away to Ash, who is having an intense battle with this ace trainer in the middle of a big town. And he loses to a Mega Absol in a very dramatic battle. And Ash goes, Mega Evolution's so cool!
Yeah.
And in the meantime, while this kind of like montages of battle is happening, you see Diancie kind of bobbing her way. She hovers, but for some reason she has to jump.
Yeah, hop. She hops around in the air.
Off of the other air. like she never touches the ground, but she does hop in the air.
So she's being chased by these two very flamboyant people.
Yeah.
One with a Greninja and one with a Delphox.
A witch with a Delphox and a ninja with a Greninja.
Yeah.
Are chasing her. And then I forgot exactly how Ash runs
at the end of the battle, Pikachu hears something. Hears Diancie being attacked.
And then they run into an alley and they see the witch with the Delphox attacking Diancie, and he goes, "What are you doing?" And then the Greninja guy is there too, and he's like, ganging up on someone like that's not cool. And Ash helps fight everybody away and saves Diancie, and they all run away a different place, and they all introduce themselves, and Diancie's like, "It's so wonderful to meet you." She has this kind of princessy demeanor, and then they, go hang out for a little bit. They go eat at a little pastry shop, and she says, like, it's great to be around you guys, and Ash introduces her to the concept of friendship. She's like, "We're your friends," and she's like, "I now declare that it is okay for me to be friends with you," or something.
She's very princessy. So she tells them that she's going to go meet Xerneas for to use its fairy aura. So of course Ash says, "We'll help you do that."
Yeah. And while they're eating, though, they suddenly notice Diancie's been kidnapped or disappeared or something like that, and they are on the trail and searching. And who took Diancie but Team Rocket? And now Team Rocket has captured Diancie in this little clock tower, and it's like, we're not going to let you go unless you make diamonds for us. And she's like, "Well, why didn't you just say so?" And she suddenly makes a bajillion perfect diamonds come out, and they're just swimming in beautiful pink diamonds, Steven Universe pink diamonds. And now they're all just enjoying themselves, and so Diancie gets to walk away, and at the door, it's locked, but this mysterious girl in green kicks the door open basically and says, "You're free to go," and helps her escape.
And she has a chest knot.
Yeah, and she has a chest nod, which is very suggestive of possible wrongdoing. And then, so Diancie gets away, and she meets back with Ash and says, "I'm okay. This, helpful girl helped me out." I think Ash actually meets them and says, "Are you a friend? If you're against Team Rocket, then you must not be bad."
Yeah.
Or something like that. And she's like, "Yeah, bye." And then she sails away to an airship where she meets with her father, who seems to be addicted to them, tracking them, and maybe not up to
addicted
no good
to
or
chocolate
something.
Is what I said.
Oh yeah, chocolate. What did I say?
You said addicted to them.
Oh, sorry. No, addicted to chocolate. And
not very important, but
yeah, and is tracking them for some reason.
Yeah, tracking Diancie.
Yeah, Diancie. And she goes, "Ha ha ha. Yeah, let's keep watching them." And he's in an airship again, very suspicious, a stealth airship.
Yeah.
And so Diancie and folks keep on running, and then suddenly they're attacked again by the Delphox and the... Well, no, that's not happened. They actually go shopping first.
They go shopping. I was just going to say, they go to a town, and Serena and Bonnie say, "Let's go shopping." And Diancie's like, "What is shopping?" And so they go shopping, and there's this cute montage where they try different clothes on. It's really adorable. Then suddenly there's all these carbinks that show up, and they're chasing Diancie, and Diancie's running away. So Ash and Clement, with the help of Clementic gear, help Diancie escape from the carbinks.
And so
then
they continue
after
traveling.
that,
and then they get attacked again by the Delphox and Greninja guys.
Yeah.
And then the Carbink jump out and take a hit for Diancie, and they're like, "We'll do anything to protect you, Princess Diancie." And then Ash and folks manage to get away and kind of beat them back again. Mm-hmm. And then the Carbinks reveal "We're the bodyguards of Diancie." And she's like, "Yeah, this is my job to do a heart diamond, but really I'm enjoying this shopping and friendship thing, but this is my job, so."
And they had been traveling for months with Diancie, it seems like, for a long time. Diancie felt very downtrodden, saw the city far away, and kind of ran away from the Carbink.
Thought it would be fun, and that's why she was running away from them in the mall too, because she's just like, "I will now do this shopping," and she was just excited for doing some shopping. And so they continue traveling, and they actually enter through a diamond tunnel, which is apparently all of their massive empire is linked by these tunnel systems, and run into the old Carbink from the start of the movie, who tells Diancie, "Time's up. Our heart diamond's dead."
You see all the diamonds and crystals kind of dissolving.
Kind of turning purple and kind of rotting away and falling apart. And so the entire network of Carbink civilization is being shown to have its lights being turned out, and they're like, "We need you more than ever, Diancie. We have no more time." So she tries to
get a heart diamond, and she still can't.
Yeah.
And they say, "Okay, go find Xerneas. You got to go find Xerneas."
Yeah. And so they continue traveling, and at some point while they're traveling, she just kind of is making gems and stuff just for practice.
This was actually earlier.
Yeah, this is actually earlier. I forgot. And she actually makes a little diamond and gives it to Bonnie.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I forgot to mention, the diamonds that she made for Team Rocket all disappeared within like minutes.
Yeah.
Because she's like, I can't make the heart diamond yet, and I can't make diamonds that don't just disappear in a few minutes. So I'm sorry, Bonnie, but you won't have that for very long. She's like, it's okay, and then puts it in her bag. Yeah. And so they're continuing to travel now, and then they and the old Carbink come across this place where she's like, I feel Xerneas is close. And the old Carbink is like, this is the all-earth forest, I think.
And that's where he had encountered Xerneas before, because there had been a big wave of destruction. Some evil force had destroyed the forest, and Xerneas had come and healed, protected the Pokemon.
And he's like, we got to be really careful in the all-earth forest, because in the center of the all-earth forest sleeps Yveltal in a cocoon of destruction.
Yeah, and it said that whoever awakes Yveltal will feel its wrath.
Unleash feel the wrath of fury or something. The curse of fury.
Yeah. So she finally encounters Xerneas. Xerneas says, "You've been tracking me for some time," and uses its fairy aura, and Diancie feels all like emotional and powerful, and the Carbink are also like bathing in the fairy aura. And Xerneas says, "Okay, like you have power or something," and then trots away.
Yeah, and then she's like, "Okay, now I'm gonna make a heart diamond." And she gives it a shot and goes like, but like it doesn't seem to, like, is almost gonna make it, doesn't quite make it or something. But then right at that point gets attacked by the
Delphox and Greninja.
Well, no, actually by the green girl first.
Right. Yes. So the chestnut girl who had saved them once before, actually, also.
And Ash is like, you were supposed to be a friend because you helped us, but then you're a bad guy. One of the things I love about this movie is that everything's spelled out very clearly, because
let's just keep going with that. Yeah.
So like, but now you're a bad guy. She's like, yes, I made myself seem like a good guy so that Diancie would get the fairy aura, and now I'm gonna
make real diamonds.
Kidnap her, because she can now make real diamonds. And he's like, I'm not gonna let you. And the Delphox witch and the Greninja ninja come down and all start fighting. And now they're just fighting all around the forest, trying to capture Diancie, and Ash is trying to get her away. And then all three of them, and Diancie and Ash, fall into this big ominous hole.
I think one of them goes in there to hide at first or something.
Yeah, and then like as soon as they fall into the hole, there's a big puddle in there, and when they touch the puddle, a purple aura starts to fill the water.
So all of these different people are landing in this puddle, and whenever their feet hit the ground on the bottom of the water, we see this dark red kind of like aura start to bubble up. Yeah, and we start seeing.
And then they're all saying like, "What's going on?" They're seeing the purple, and in the center of big cocoon just starts cracking open. Yeah. And then out of the water bursts Yveltal, who's just like, "Nah!" And Carbink's like, oh no.
So Yveltal starts attacking everyone, truly wreaking havoc and destruction all over the forest.
Using its signature move, which I can't remember what it's called, but it's that big beam that comes out of his chest and is petrifying everything that it...
Oblivion Wing.
And petrifies everything that it attacks. So first it attacks like some people's Pokemon. They get petrified, the thieves' Pokemon, and the thieves are like, oh no, and like Team Rocket is like running away, and they're like, we're okay for now. Oh no, and then they get petrified, and then the thieves are like trying to run, and there's like this romantic subplot where the ninja like saves the witch, and they're just like, we'll be okay. Oh no! And then they're petrified in each other's arms. Yeah. And then I think...
So pretty much everyone is petrified at this point except Ash and friends.
Yeah, and then they're like kind of at the edge of a cliff now. And then there's this kind of moment where they're almost going to fall off the cliff, and they make it back up, and they're happy just to be alive. And then Yveltal comes again and then shoots another Oblivion Wing, and Pikachu jumps up and does a Thunderbolt to try to like prevent it from landing, and then they're okay.
And Diancie thinks, oh, I can't do anything, like I wish I could be more powerful, and is suddenly inspired to truly create a heart diamond, and she does this by mega evolving. Yeah. You see the diamond inside of Bonnie's purse glowing, and Diancie mega evolves into Mega Diancie and creates this giant heart diamond. Mm-hmm. That can repel Xerneas' attacks.
Yeah. But no Yveltal's attacks.
Yveltal, thank you. Sorry.
And then I think that it works a little bit, but they're still kind of having a lot of trouble with Yveltal. And then at some point, Pikachu...
Xerneas shows up and stares intently at Yveltal.
Yeah.
And they have this kind of face-off, and it calms Yveltal's rage.
Yeah.
And Yveltal just like kind of like stops attacking and just kind of flies on to, live its life. Xerneas roots itself in place and becomes a tree to protect the forest.
And like all of the things start growing back in the forest and everything. But the moment that I think happened before this was they noticed that Pikachu's tail got nicked during one of Yveltal's attacks.
Yeah, so after Xerneas becomes the tree, they noticed that Pikachu's tail got nicked.
Yeah. And then Pikachu's slowly getting petrified, and Ash is like, no, Pikachu! And then Pikachu gets completely petrified, I think.
Yeah.
And then... I thought that this was the part
and then,
where
and then the fairy aura from Xerneas starts spreading out towards the forest after it's become the tree, I think.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden everything is healed. Pikachu is unpetrified. And everyone is unpetrified.
Yeah. And then everybody decides that they're going to live happily ever after rather than being thieves, basically. And so Diancie goes home to make a heart diamond. Everybody, lives happily ever after.
And Bonnie reaches in her bag and realizes that diamond that Diancie gave her way before she met Xerneas actually stayed. Yeah. So through the power of their friendship and emotions, Steven Universe, she was able to unlock her power and create real diamonds, and so the power was within
the
her all along.
diamond formed a megastone and allowed the whole thing to happen because
and Bonnie gives it back to her.
The only reason Diancie was able to Mega Evolve was because in the show they talk about how the Mega Evolve is about the power of friendship through a Mega Stone. Yeah. So Bonnie's friendship allows them to do it, and then Bonnie gives the stone back, and then she's like, okay, and then like I will treasure it forever. And then all of the thieves go off and have like careers. Like the green thief is now making a chocolate shop.
Yeah, she and her dad have a chocolate shop.
Dad and the other two thieves get married because romantic subplot.
Yeah, and they seem to work at a fashion place or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty much
it. Yeah.
Pretty much it. So let's talk about where the movie was ranked before. So I'll start out saying that I really liked this movie the first time we watched it. I was really into it. This was at the very top of of kind of my middle tier of movies, the very top. I really liked it. I thought it was very sweet. I love Diancie. I still love Diancie. I think all the friendship is really good. I think the Kalos team we were really attached to at the time because we were watching the anime.
And they're all genuinely
they're
good
all
too.
really good. Yeah. I think they're great. So I think I didn't really have anything specific. I just really enjoyed the movie the first time we watched it. I really liked Diancie. I thought all the emotional connections were really great. So I also really like Xerneas. So yeah. How about you?
My Diancie was kind of like low middle for me. It's also kind of near the top of my middle tier, but my middle tier was way lower. Like, it's weird. Anyway, like the point being, it was not ranked as highly for me, like compared to a lot of the other movies. I thought the plot was a little bit like insubstantial and straightforward, very kind of like basic, like journey kind of a thing. And that there were a lot of fight scenes taking up most of the screen time. So I wasn't really too excited about it when I watched it the first time. It was kind of down there with some of the lower tier movies.
Mm-hmm. So our experience rewatching it, do you want to start on that?
Sure. I had a much better impression of the movie this time than I did before. I think that a lot of the scenes were very interesting and very fun. I think the friendship came across to me a lot more, like the slow moments that they had throughout the journey where she makes the diamond for Bonnie and they all go shopping together, and the kind of like devotion of the Carbink, going and saving and doing everything to save their princess, all of that, was a little bit more charming to me this time around than it was before, where I guess before we hadn't watched enough Pokemon movies, so I was just like, this just seems like an everyday garden variety, Shrek-Adjacent, kids movie journey at the time, and now I'm just like, this is kind of unusual for a Pokemon movie in terms of the kinds of journeys that they have.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way, but you're right. Yeah, it's not a common plot.
Yeah, so I thought that I felt very positively about this movie, and we'll talk about where it's going to rank a little later.
Yeah. So upon rewatching, I was actually able to more see its flaws a little bit more. the thieves are not really the most interesting villains. They
Yeah.
just kind of want diamonds. And for how, extra and flamboyant they are, I feel like there could be a little more substance to that.
Yeah.
I do like all the characters stuff still, but I do kind of see more how upon the first watch Alex thought, this is kind of simplistic. It's a little predictable and straightforward. Although I did still enjoy it a lot. Which I think this movie is a good example of what rewatching is doing, because there are these movies, this was one of them, that are ranked pretty differently for us. This one was a lot higher on my list than it was on Alex's. Not a lot higher, but significantly higher. And I think he got to see the positive aspects of it this time around. I got to see the negative aspects of it this time around. So I think it helps kind of balance out our lists.
It's a little consolidation there.
Yeah, I still think it has a really cute message. I think it's simple, but I think it does simple well in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think that the Hoopa movie, like I feel like they have great kind of execution. Like Hoopa movie set a weird target, of course. If we're gonna have a bunch of legendaries on screen, but what in this generation, I feel like, and in the show too, they have very simple plots, but what they set out to do, they do well. And I think that the execution really does set it apart from some of the movies farther down the list, which is constantly stumbling over itself, trying to get a certain idea across.
One other thing that I think this movie does well, as well as some of the other ones we'll talk about soon, that a lot of those movies down at the bottom of the list we commented on not doing well, is the kind of side main characters being relevant. Ash is obviously almost always relevant in these movies.
Yeah.
I say almost always.
Yeah.
But sometimes his companions kind of get the short shrift in, I'd say specifically in the 5th gen movies. I think Iris and Silent are mostly just there doing nothing.
Yeah.
Brock sometimes in some of these movies is
Most
kind of
of
just
the time.
there. But in the Diancie movie, Serena and Bonnie and Clement all get to be involved, and they get to do something, and they get to care about the story and be important to the story. Yeah. And Team Rocket also. Yeah. They get to have their scene where they... it's really good exposition to see Diancie make all the diamonds for them and then see them disappear. It's a very good, clear way of messaging to the audience. This is Diancie's weakness, or...
Yeah, definitely. And it's no accident that this happens either, because obviously throughout the XY anime, you see that all of the side characters are given way more agency and individual kind of importance in a way that other series like Misty and Brock are kind of there to support Ash. But in the XY series, they all have their own personalities, their own goals, and they keep that through the movies, which it feels like, they're just characters that you really care more about than Iris or Silent. But I didn't watch that series. But
I also just want to say, this is irrelevant to everything, but I also just want to say that I really think his name should be pronounced Ceylon, because his name is supposed to be cilantro, so it's just Ceylon or
yeah.
It's Silent is just okay, whatever. Not important, but yeah, they do get a lot more kind of relevant screen time, a lot more agency, even in the movies.
Yeah.
Which is really nice to see.
Bonnie just getting along with everybody. In this case, Diancie, it's their bond of friendship. They have their own friendship. Ash and Diancie have their own friendship. Serena didn't do as much in this movie, but did do this whole shopping scene, was all about her, showing Diancie some fun. And Clement always has the Clemente gear moment, obviously.
Yeah.
Which is better than a Brock moment of flirting with a guy. Guess what? Or flirting with a girl. Guess what?
Yeah.
Have them do fun
For
things
sure.
we support, and they'll be more likable.
Yeah, for real. And I think the other thing that I think we need to mention about this movie before we go on is the intro sequence with the battle that Ash is in. We both remember really well.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah, a lot of
it's very good showing off of the Mega Evolution Pokemon. The music is really good.
Yeah. A lot of movies start off with either all the Pokemon having fun together or having a battle over a montage over the intro song in an extended version. And this one is easily one of the best Pokemon.
It's really good.
Intros to a movie and Pokemon battles that you can think of.
Yeah.
Where it's just one-on-ones that go back and forth between this Ace Trainer and Ash. All of the battles have a lot of personality. It's not they're just using stereotypical moves or something.
It's a lot harder to get bored.
Yeah, exactly. You see a Froakie going head to head with a meow stick, which is a cute matchup and all these things.
Yeah. So I just wanted to mention that before we move on, because it's really good.
One of the best parts of this movie, and a thing that props it up for sure.
I think the last thing I want to say that we talked about this movie when we were talking about where to rank it, is the fact that the Carbink and the Diancie have kind of their own culture. Like, it's very rare to see like Pokemon have their own culture and world that is totally separate from humans.
Yeah.
And that is super the case here. Like, the Carbink have not a very complicated, but a very kind of simple like civilization that they have their own lore, they have their own stories, they have their own like hierarchy and stuff. Which is just kind of neat to see, I think.
Yeah, like you'll never see like a Pidgey going like, in the ancient Pidgey past, like, this Pidgeot came and saved us or something. Yeah, I know, I wish. But like, the Carbink remember the, disaster in the forest, like, and they talk about it and they pass down stories, like elements of culture that are like unusual for a Pokemon group to
the
have.
Closest we get is Pudgy Pidgey Island. Do you remember Pudgy Pidgey Island in the anime? Okay.
I don't remember
I should
Pudgy
show you
Pidgey
that.
Island.
I should show you that episode. I think it's an Orange Islands episode.
Okay, wow.
It's pretty good. Okay, so re-ranking. So I ended up deciding to put this movie right under the Shaman movie. I think the Shaman movie has benefited a lot from this rewatching. And I think at this point, one thing that I said after watching the Diancie movie is that I'm excited now because rather than having to compare movies and say, okay, which one is worse? Which one committed more movie sins? We can now say, which one did I enjoy watching more? And I really still like the Diancie movie, but I do think that I viscerally enjoyed watching the Shaman movie a bit more. I don't really have anything kind of like specific to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you look at the strengths of the Shaman movie compared to the strengths of the Diancie movie, the characters are all great in both of them. And I think that, again, I guess to go where I would rank it, I also decided to rank it just under Diancie movie, just under the Shaman movie. I think that the interactions between Ash and, Shaman, the Piplup and like Dawn and like the kind of journey that they have together, obviously everybody can have their own opinion at this point, like take it or leave it. It's not like movie sins at this point.
Yeah, exactly. It's comparing the strengths, which is a lot more fun.
Yeah. I'd say that to me, like, I think the interactions between Shaman and Ash are a little bit more nuanced than Diancie. I think that the villains are a lot more interesting in the Shaman movie.
That was the big thing. The villains have the villain has an interesting relationship.
Yeah.
And more interesting motivation, I think.
Yeah, in the Shaman movie with Zero and trying to get Giratina and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I, really liked the way that the whole journey worked and the way that it went up to the glacier and all of that stuff. If we do have to say sins at this point, which, the movies are thankfully having fewer, the other thieves in the Diancie movie, the Greninja, Delphox, and Chestnut thieves, they're really kind of a waste of screen time in some ways. Like, I hate to say it, but like in a series where the battles are all very interesting, their battles are like the least interesting and dynamic. They're just like a water shuriken comes out of nowhere again and then they hit somebody and like whatever.
And they also have no interest as characters.
Exactly.
Quite frankly.
Like, the romantic subplot does little to save their personality.
Yeah.
It's not about who they are. They're just,
Yeah.
They're just caricatures.
I will say one fun thing is that Team Rocket seems to instantly recognize them.
Oh, yeah.
And there was one, I think it was during one of the movies, was it? Or maybe during the anime?
No, it was in Pokemon 2000.
Pokemon 2000, that Team Rocket says that they read about some thief or something, and I think it was what's his name, Lawrence or whatever.
The airship
Yeah,
thief.
they read about him in the Team Rocket Gazette. So every time they recognize people, we're like, oh, they read it in the Team Rocket Gazette.
Yeah, I think that the Team Rocket Gazette is mentioned in at least one other early movie, too. Yeah. Actually, it was in the Pokemon Ranger movie that the Team Rocket Gazette is brought back up, because they're like, oh, we've heard that this egg is one of the most actually it might have been Maybe it in Pokemon 2000? Was it only
I don't
in the
know,
Ranger?
but I think it's really funny to think that Team Rocket puts out like a gazette of like this is all the evil
hot things to steal, the evil people.
Yeah. So it's pretty fun. It's pretty funny.
That might be the best thing to come out of the Pokemon Ranger movie, if that's the case. Again, was better than we remembered it, but much worse than every other movie.
Yeah. All right. Do you have anything else to wrap up about Diancie before you move on?
Not that I can say.
All right. Let's move on to our second movie this time around. That is Pokémon the Movie, Volcanion and the Mechanical Marvel.
Mechanical Marvel.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, let's give a little summary of what this movie's about.
is the last movie in the starring the XY characters, and it follows Ash and Serena kind of like later in their journey. The way that it
Clement.
Yeah, and Clement, sorry.
Bonnie.
And Bonnie. Ash, Serena, Clement, Bonnie. It's too many people sometimes. Later
Can I just cut in and say there's this hilarious thing that happens during the whole XY anime, and sometimes in the movies too, when they introduce themselves to new characters.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, hi, my name's Ash. I'm from Pallet Town, and this is my partner Pikachu.
Pika! And
I'm Serena. I'm from Fanaville Town.
And this is my partner
Fennekin.
Fennekin.
Hi, I'm Clement. I'm something.
And this is my sister Bonnie.
Hi, I'm Bonnie. It takes like 10 minutes every time. It's really funny.
It's like they have like their own version of the Team Rocket motto.
Yeah, but it's just them introducing themselves for way too long.
Yeah. Anyway, a lot of characters. So Ash, Serena, Clement, Bonnie. This is the third movie starring them. And it starts off with a Volcanion jumping onto an airship and going like, give it back, kind of, suggesting, kind of. And then the people on the airship are like, ha ha ha, you again, get out of here. And he shoots like a weird clamp device onto the Volcanion's legs, which shoves Volcanion off of it. It's kind of like handcuffs, like electromagnetic handcuffs, onto Volcanion's legs and brushes that Volcanion off the airship and down into the ground below. And then it cuts away to Ash and Clement having a practice battle down on the ground, and it's like, intro movie, like intro montage, intro music playing, and then at the end of it, Volcanion falls out of the sky and thwacks Ash with one of his legs in such a way that the clamp falls off of Volcanion's leg and wraps right around Ash's waist. And so Volcanion has one of these handcuffs on him, and Ash has the other. And Ash immediately gets sucked in and smacks right into the other handcuffs. Both handcuffs are kind of like magnetically attracted to each other.
Yeah.
And then everybody's like, "What's going on?" And Volcanion's like, "Oh, get off of me! What are you doing? Like, hugging me like that?" And he's like,
Volcanion tries to get away, but Ash keeps being attracted to him and smacking against his leg over and over again. And Clement try to like get the thing off, but they cannot get it off.
Yeah. Also, Clement probably mentions like it's telepathy when
Volcanion
starts talking, because Volcanion can talk to them.
Yeah.
And Volcanion's like, "Oh, I have no time for this. I have to go find," not saying exactly what he's gonna do. And then he goes towards this city, and he's like, firing this steam out of his spouts and going through the city. He crashes into a cafe at one point where Team Rocket is sitting, and Team Rocket's like, "Oh, maybe we should follow them. They seem to be up to something." And Volcanion like spouts and lands on top of this castle where there's this kid and an very evil looking dude behind him. And the kid is just like, "Magearna, I'm so happy to have you here." And Magearna's like, "Boop, boop, 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 boop." That's kind of like a little
robot. Yeah,
a little robot looking Diancie is what Magearna is.
Yeah, basically.
And he's like, "We're so happy to have you here." And then Volcanion like plops down and goes like, "Give her back." And then he's like, "No, we need her for the kingdom." And the evil guy's like, "Yes, we need her for the kingdom, yes." And then, like, clearly, trustworthy guy. And then he does a mega wave where he, like, kind of, like, does a little, like, hand wave over his evil-looking staff, and mega evolves some Pokemon seemingly against their will, Gengar and, like, one other guy. And then they both knock Volcanion off of the tower again. But I think that they managed to save Magearna. I actually don't remember.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Okay, they do manage to retrieve Magearna at that point.
I think because Ash gets hurt and Magearna comes to check on him, and then Volcanion like kind of scoops them up and they fly away.
Yeah, so they do manage to save them.
Yeah.
And then the kid's like, "No matter, we'll get her at some point." And the evil guy's like, "Yes, we'll go away. We'll get her eventually." And so the kid goes down the hall, going like, "I'm enjoying this pet project of mine of getting Magearna so that I can," like, I think he explains to Magearna earlier on, like, so that, this wonderful mechanical city that was started by Nicola, my great-grandfather.
To Ash, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to use Magearna to help this city become perfect and grow great.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, really happy about what I'm doing. And then somebody who looks kind of like him and turns out to be his sister finds him and goes like, what are you working on? He's like, nothing. I'm making things great. Like, and she's like,
She's suspicious.
Suspicious. Anyway, cut back to Ash, who is now down, completely filthy.
They're under the bridge downtown.
Under the bridge downtown. With Volcanion. With Volcanion and Magearna. And Volcanion goes like, I've been taking care of Magearna since forever. And Magearna's like, hey, you guys seem friendly. You guys should hang out with us, basically.
To be clear, Magearna cannot talk.
Yeah. Using like,
yeah.
like, it's like basically going to Volcanion, like, can we keep them? Yeah. Can we keep them? Basically.
Yeah, and Ash's friends have shown up at this point. They've chased him down and found him.
And they put Ash in like some like old British newspaper boy clothes.
For no reason.
Serena did that because she's into him.
Yeah.
And Ash is like, well, I'd like to go with you, but we kind of don't have a choice right now because we're still clamped together, and Clement Gear is not doing the trick. So Volcanion's like, oh, whatever, come along. And so they go on a little journey together. Ash is still kind of like attached to Volcanion.
Yeah.
Everybody else is traveling. And then I think at some point they get attacked, but then they get saved by the sister who comes down in a little mini airship.
Yeah, so they get attacked again by the people who are trying to get Magearna.
Yeah.
But the sister comes down and fights them off with her Mega Gardevoir, which she has a strong bond with.
A shiny Mega Gardevoir that they have a strong bond together with. And so now they're all traveling together. And Volcanion's like, oh, I'm rid of these humans. I don't trust them. Humans are selfish and
He's
bad.
He's very big on not trusting humans.
Yeah, and you shouldn't trust them either, Magearna, but I guess I'm stuck to this human, so we'll just travel together.
Yeah.
And so they all make it down to the Valley of the something Plateau. The
Nebel Plateau.
Nebel Plateau. Nebel Plateau.
Whatever.
Where Volcanion's like, this place is where I have lived with Magearna since forever. Here is where we Pokemon can be safe away from humans. Though, ironically, the first thing that happens to them when they get into the plateau is they run into an Amora who got attacked by poachers.
Yeah.
And then they save the Amora, and they bring the Amora with them to the plateau and says, you can live here. And so...
And Serena helps heal it up.
Yeah, so they're all helping, and so Ash is like, see, we're good. Not all humans are bad, And Volcanion's like, yeah, whatever. I don't trust you guys still. And then all of the little forest Pokemon come out of the village and slowly warm up to them. And Ash and Serena and friends are like, we need to do our best to ingratiate ourselves to these Pokemon. So Serena starts baking. Ash starts being friendly and brings out all of his Pokemon, says like, we can all be friends together. Pikachu's like, Pika, Pika, Pee. Like, we should all be friends.
So one thing that I want to mention before I forget is that actually earlier in the movie, Team Rocket ended up running into these guys who were trying to get Magearna, and this was after Volcanion and Ash and Magearna had flown off, and they say, hey, we know that kid, we can help you out.
Oh yeah.
So when they're on the way to the plateau, they actually get attacked by Team Rocket, and Team Rocket has Pokemon that are not their usual Pokemon, they use that Mega Wave thing to Mega Evolve the Pokemon.
Yeah.
So they're with these evil guys now.
Yeah, at this point. And they're like, those aren't your usual Pokemon. Where are your usual ones? Which I thought was a really funny line.
But anyway, back at the plateau, so the airship comes and they start once again. I think they attack, and they flood the area with smoke. Well,
before we get there, while they're all just friends, Ash does manage to get the clamp off at some point, I think.
Right. Yeah. There's a Gulpin that uses an acid attack or sludge attack of some kind to help Clement get his get the thing off of Ash.
Yeah.
And Volcanion says, now you can leave.
Yeah.
He's still like, we don't want you here.
And Ash is like, after all of the friendship we made and all of the, bonds we made and all of the Pokemon that love us and stuff here. And he's like, let's take this Gulpin, for example. This Gulpin who you hugged really hard when you first got here, and then he was really scared and ran away. You know why? it's because he was abandoned by his trainer, and the last thing that happened to this Gulpin before he was abandoned, his trainer gave him a big hug.
Yeah, so he's making it really clear that the Pokemon here have been, he doesn't know all their stories, and he doesn't want to share his own story, but they've all been really, truly, like, hurt by humans.
Yeah. Yeah, and before Ash can make the decision of whether or not they're going to stay or leave or something, the airship comes back down and floods the area with smoke.
Yeah, with smoke, and they grab Magearna.
And they do these, like...
they trap all of the Pokemon in these things.
Electric whips.
Yeah, that they can basically just, like, with a press of a button, and with, like, attacks and stuff, they can, like, hurt everyone. And they tell Magearna, you come with us, or we keep... torturing these guys.
Yeah.
So Magearna, of course, goes with them.
Yeah. And so Magearna is taken away, and everybody on the plateau is just like, well, we got to get her back, right? And they're like, oh, we're so upset and stuff. And then the sister, I don't know their names in this movie.
I don't either.
The sister, Alva, no, that's the bad guy. I don't know. The sister person is like, like, I know them, and we can fly on this ship and go save Magearna, which we should do. I think that's basically what she says.
Yeah. So back on the ship with Magearna, the kid is really, really. He's like, "Yay, we finally have Magearna! I'm so happy." And this evil guy, Alva, is that him?
Yeah, I think he's the evil guy.
He takes the soul heart out of Magearna, which is in Magearna's chest, and says, "Great, I have what I need," and tosses Magearna's body off the ship.
Oh yeah, and
the kid's like, "What?"
Yeah.
And he uses hypnosis on the kid. He's like, "I don't need you anymore. Yeah. I've got what I need."
Yeah, and then that's actually the thing is that Magearna's just got tossed right back down to the plateau, a husk. A lifeless husk.
So Volcanion's got Magearna's lifeless body on its back.
Yeah. So very, like, traumatizing for all these animals. And they're like, we have to go get the soul heart back from the, which is like the soul heart of Magearna.
And as they're flying back, Meowth can hear the soul heart crying out. Crying out. Magearna's voice. And so Team Rocket, being, not as evil as these guys, say, you know what, we have to get that soul heart, and we have to get it back to Magearna. He tosses Jesse and James off the ship, keeps Meowth there, presumably to be a good translator for Magearna's soul heart.
Yeah, so, like, Jesse and James, like, spring for the thing, but, like, spring for the soul heart to try to free Magearna, but are stopped, tossed off the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they managed to grapple hook back onto Ash's ship, which is very talented of them. Yeah. And so they're, like, kind of, like, hooked on as Ash and friends are also flying over to try to save the soul heart for Alpha.
So cut to, eventually, we have Magearna's soul heart in this big machine-looking thing. And we have Meowth tied up. We got the evil guy there. We find out that the castle walls around this city were built by Nicola, these two princely blonde kids, like grandfather or whatever, and the soul heart was meant as a way to power the walls as a defense mechanism for the city. But unfortunately, that sort of power got corrupted, I guess, and kind of turned people in the city against each other. And he said, "This is a big regret, Magearna. I'm going to hide you away."
And so that's how Magearna originally arrived at the plateau, where Volcanion was already hanging out with a bunch of Pokemon.
So they've known each other for hundreds of years.
Yeah, 500 at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
the guy is trying to get the soul heart to power these castle walls, to have this big giant weapon, basically.
Yeah. So basically he succeeds. He takes the soul heart to the castle walls and lands his airship on the walls, which then turn into an even bigger airship, now powered by the soul heart. Yeah. And now this giant airship has just erupted out of the side of the city and is flying over the skies. And he's like, ha ha ha, I have this soul heart now, and now I will break it, basically.
Yeah, because Meowth is saying, Magearna's still in there, I can still hear her crying out, and she's refusing to give all her power so that he can't attack in the way that he's wanting to.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure
at this point, Ash and friends arrive, and there's all these forced Mega Evolved Pokemon on the roof. So they jump onto the roof. There's this great battle montage where they battle all these Mega Evolved Pokemon.
And then they're trying to get down to save them. But, they arrive at the center layer where they see the soul heart trapped. and Meowth is tied up, and Alva's like, you guys can't stop me. Gengar, get them! And then Gengar like stalls them for a little while, and he's like, ha ha ha, you guys are too late. I will now blast the plateau to break Magearna's heart.
Yeah.
And so he aims the ship, which is apparently this giant death cannon, at the plateau, and fires a shot, but it misses. It like kind of like deflects off. It kind of like the aim is like, you know, wide of the where all of the animal friends are. And Meowth's like, she's still fighting, but she can't fight it anymore. That, firing that shot, it broke her heart to see, that she was almost gonna kill all of her friends.
Yeah.
And so now she's like, Meowth is like, I can't hear her voice anymore.
Yeah. So he's getting ready to fire his last shot. As he does that, Bonnie's little friend Zygarde.
Yeah. So all of the animals like fire a beam to try to stop it, but they're way not enough to stop this giant cannon.
So Bonnie has a little Zygarde. What are they called in the game? Zygarde cell in her bag that has been with them throughout the anime.
Named Squishy.
Who then powers itself up because it's seen everything that's happening. Gets all the other Zygarde cells and becomes 50%? I think during the big attack on top, it becomes 25% dog Zygarde.
Yeah.
Then when this beam is attacking the Pokemon and they can't hold it off, it becomes 100% Zygarde. With the other 100% Zygarde. With the other
because 75% is the squid-looking guy.
Yeah, with the other Zygarde, and they add their power to the power of the Pokemon on the plateau, and they blast it back even more.
The beam is stopped one more time by the power of 100% Zygarde.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's okay. We'll fire this cannon again in like just a second. Yeah. And they're like, no. And then they successfully manage to like, beat...
Ash pretty much leaps straight into the...
Well, so he grabs the guy's staff. He's been using the Mega Wave. And he jumps off of the side of the railing and slams the staff into...
Like wedges it in to pry Magearna out, basically.
Yeah.
His soul heart.
Yeah.
And the Mega Wave thing shatters.
And suddenly all of the Pokemon that the guys have been using are freed. And apparently none of them ever wanted to be part of the evil team. They were just being trapped by this Mega Wave.
So they're unmega evolved, and Gengar disappeared. Gengar's like, I'm out of here.
Yeah, like everybody's just like, I'm out of here. Yeah. Like we don't like you guys at all.
Yeah.
And they managed to retrieve the soul heart, but they're like, oh my god, its voice, you can't hear his voice anymore.
And the ship's going down also now.
The ship's going down. Alva's
straight at the plateau.
Yeah. The evil guy's like, haha, see you guys later, and tries to jetpack out. But I think they managed to wing him, and then
he falls down to the earth.
He falls down to the earth, and now this ship is about to crash onto the plateau.
Yeah.
Really inconvenient, it would land exactly on the plateau.
Yeah. So Volcanion says, if I can get water to power myself, which they get from the internal steam engine basically of the castle. He says, I can make it, because he's told Ash earlier in the movie, I can level mountains. I'm really powerful. So he says, I can make an explosion that will explode this thing in the air, and then the pieces that fall to the ground will, won't
be too small to cause an issue.
Yeah. So they go into the middle. Volcanion says, exploding us from the middle would be the most effective way to do that. Ash and the kid who was tricked by the evil guy, say, no, you can't do that because you have to survive. And Volcanion says, okay, fine, we'll go back together. So they go back up to the top. Ash and the kid go back onto the girls' airship, and they say, okay, Volcanion, now explode the place, and then, jump onto our ship, basically fly up to us. And Volcanion says, nope, goes back down into the belly of the ship.
Yeah.
And closes its eyes really tightly and says, I'm sorry. It's time to go out with a bang. I'm sorry, Magearna, I couldn't protect you. And explodes the ship from the inside.
I know.
And Ash is like, you lied to us. You said that we were going to go back together.
Oh my gosh, I'm getting emotional.
I was just tearing up.
I know.
So the ship explodes. Everything's fine down on the ground. They have the soul heart of Magearna. They put the soul heart back into Magearna, but Magearna... It can move. Meowth says it's basically an automaton now. Its heart was too broken. It can move, but it doesn't recognize us. It can't, it doesn't have the same spark that it used to have. So everyone's kind of despairing.
And then a fog rolls in.
Which, if you had seen the movie, you would know means Volcanion's here.
Yeah, out of the lake, you see the feet coming out of the
comes up out of
lake.
The water. and Magearna recognizes Volcanion, runs to Volcanion. They have a big embrace, and Magearna's heart is basically brought back to life again.
Yeah.
Because of its friendship with Volcanion.
And Volcanion's like, but I die. And then like he like collapses.
Oh yeah, and then he collapses, and then you think he's dead again.
But then Magearna like turns her hand into a little flower, which is like the one trick that she always does.
It makes Volcanion sneeze.
Yeah.
And then it kind of explodes a little, but like not that much.
And just showing everybody that, oh, he's okay.
Yeah.
He sneezed, he's okay. And he like wakes up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then that's it, and everybody sails off.
And Volcanion says, you guys have been really helpful. I will make you honorary Pokemon of this plateau.
Yeah, I know.
Bye, basically.
Yeah, you guys are welcome back anytime. Humans mostly still bad.
And that's pretty much the end, right?
And then they fly away, and then the credit song plays, which is just like,
okay,
something your soul heart.
Yeah, it's a pretty good credit song.
Yeah.
Oh, and the guy gets arrested, I think, in the montage.
Yeah, they always have to show that the bad guys are alive.
Yeah, and that they get arrested. Because I was like, did that guy die after he fell?
No. I mean, a lot of situations that you would think people die in the show. Oh, and like we also forgot to mention, Team Rocket comes back and frees Meowth.
Oh yeah, Team Rocket frees Meowth, of course.
Yeah, and he's like, you came for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, where was it ranked before and why? Do you want to start?
Yeah, so I really liked this movie a lot. I couldn't remember why, like after like a month or so, but I did remember that when I first watched it, I was really, really impressed, and I put it basically above all of the mid-tier movies for me. It was just under Lucario and the Mystery of Mew. It was above Pokemon Forever, Zoroark, a bunch of movies we haven't watched yet because those movies are ranked fairly highly, and so we haven't watched them yet. So Volcanion was actually like above a lot of very good movies, not very far from like the Entei movie, The Power of Us, and like kind of the top tier for me. I think the reasons at the time I can't tell you. I can't remember. Like I think shortly after I watched the Volcanion movie, I couldn't even remember.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure now that I'm seeing it again, like, and I'm not gonna say anything about what I feel about it now. I'm pretty sure the ending was like very impactful for me at the time. And so that probably had a lot to do with why I ranked it. And also the other thing I remembered was that the cool fight scenes were pretty cool. Yeah. Like when they landed on the big airship and Zygarde turned into 100% Zygarde, and all that stuff was really cool to me back then.
Yeah. So I had it ranked a lot lower. Originally, I had it ranked just above the Victini movie, which is kind of in the middle of my middle tier. My original list is very bell curve shaped, so my middle tier is really wide. It's also kind of literally bell curve shaped because the middle tier has the longest. The middle of the middle tier has a long
names.
title. But my top and bottom tiers are a little emptier, and my middle tier is really hefty, so it's very bell curve shaped. Alex's is a little more top heavy, I would say.
Yeah.
So this was kind of in the middle of my middle tier, so kind of really in the middle of the list. I can't really remember why I ranked it there, quite frankly. This is a movie both of us didn't really remember before rewatching it too well. My guess is maybe I got bored during some of the fight scenes. We also hadn't watched... This was the first movie that came out after we finished watching all of these. So we also hadn't watched a lot of these in a while.
Yeah.
So at this point, I was kind of trying to remember based on, how good do I remember the Victini movie being? Okay, well, I think this is better than that. Okay, but how good do I remember the Lucario movie being? Okay, I think this wasn't as good as that. So it's a little more arbitrary.
It's kind of funny that both this movie and Mewtwo 3D, both movies that we watched long after, or like, a period after the original rankings, just kind of wound up in the middle somewhere.
Yeah, because it's hard to judge. But I think... this was another one that, even more than the Diancie movie, Alex had this one a lot higher than I did.
Way higher, yeah.
And I think I remember why, because rewatching this movie, I was like, how did we forget this movie? This is intense. There's, some very, I would say for a Pokemon movie, they're very like frank and real discussions of like, like these Pokemon were hurt by humans, and this is a safe space for them. Like, you know what I mean? And Volcanion, one thing that Alex and I both thought was really important about this movie is Volcanion at no point says, you know what, you guys are right. You guys help me. I trust humans. Yeah. Humans are great. No, he makes them honorary Pokemon. That's the highest honor he can give them. Yeah. And he still says, he doesn't say you're welcome here anytime.
Well,
I mean, it's kind of like,
honorary, yeah.
But like he's still like, I still don't trust, like, look, like I still don't trust humans.
Yeah, bad stuff happened in this very
humans are
movie.
still bad.
Within like the past 10 minutes, some like really horrifying stuff happened.
Yeah,
because
and
of humans.
the whole scene where Ash is saying, but what about everything? How can you tell us to leave? Like, what about everything that happened between us? Is, I would say, really reminiscent of someone doing the whole not all men thing. You know what I mean? Quite frankly, is what it reminded me of. Like demanding that Volcanion like befriend them because they're not as bad as other humans, even though literally Volcanion included, everyone Volcanion knows have been really, really hurt by these people.
Yeah. Like Volcanion has a really nuanced way of discussing this too.
Yeah.
He like doesn't make like, strong like things like all humans should leave and they're bad for this earth. No, he's very specific. He's like, you guys have done very right by me.
Yeah.
But these Pokemon have suffered in ways that you guys do not understand.
He doesn't say humans are evil. He says, I don't trust humans.
Yeah.
I don't want humans here.
Yeah.
He's not out to hurt them or anything.
Yeah.
He just says, I don't want to have anything to do with them. And these Pokemon and me have a right to have a right to that.
Have a right to a safe space. It's like, it's not about like, it's like Ash is just like, humans should be allowed to, like hang out here or something because we're great, or something, it's like, no, that's not how it works.
Doesn't let up, which is great.
Yeah.
And the Gulpin is very moving, like...
Best Gulpin.
Yeah, best Gulpin.
A lot of cute animal friends in this movie.
Yeah.
The, like, Litwick and, like, a bunch of other Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, too, like, that whole, like, protracted segment where, like, Ash... hangs out with like the very abused Pokemon of that was like one of the most weirdly like well acted like scenes in a Pokemon movie. I think Volcanion throughout this movie is extremely well voice cast and extremely like like it's like very well acted. I guess for a Pokemon movie, I'm not gonna say like like relative like to anything, like very well acted compared to like everybody else. He is very measured.
Yeah,
like
props to the Volcanion voice actor.
Yeah, props to the Volcanion voice actor. So, I guess, do you want to continue?
I think one thing I will say is that I think the one thing that this movie kind of lets down a little bit is the villain. Yeah. I was a little confused at the end. I started once again asking what's going on because I was like, why does he want this castle? And Alex was like, I guess to like have power. It's a little bit vague. They have some kind of implied lessons about like mega evolution and like you have to befriend a Pokemon and like abuse and stuff, and it ties into there. But like the villain he's really not about that. He seems to just want this castle thing. So that part's a little like iffy for me. But I think kind of the heart of the movie is really strong. The soul heart of the movie. The soul heart.
Yeah, like I think that when I watched this movie again, for me, like from start to end, like everything impressed me more than it did the first time. I thought that the scenes with the Pokemon and the plateau are really good, but also like the involvement of Team Rocket, like from the early part of the movie where they're with the evil people because they don't really know how bad what they're doing is being, basically.
Although they are forcing Pokemon to mega evolve. So.
Yeah, but I get the idea that they regret that decision later on, maybe, or at least Meowth realizes that it's wrong because he seems pretty happy with the staff being. I don't know, whatever. Maybe Team Rocket's bad. I like to think that Team Rocket's okay.
Yeah, they're in the middle.
And then and then like Meowth, being a very central character in this movie, like honestly, Meowth crying is like a really emotional core, like in this entire movie. And like the ending was just very well executed. Like the battles are also like the thing that I remembered, and they were very dynamic, very unexpected. Like Pikachu is flying on a bird, jumping off a bird, like all sorts of like
That was one thing about this movie and the Diancie movie. I did not get bored during the battles, which I usually do. They're very well choreographed so that they're actually engaging and they're not just like attacking at each other over and over again.
And just like the dramatic beats, like when the airship was about to blast the plateau, I was like, are they gonna straight up like Death Star blow up Alderaan on the plateau?
It was very Alderaan. It was very blowing up Alderaan in front of Princess Leia, like literally.
Like I'm just like, wow, I can't believe I'm watching this in a Pokemon movie and it's like feels like this dramatic in that sort of a
really
way.
Brutal.
Yeah. And the way that it deflected, and then her heart was
Yeah.
broken, and then like Volcanion like sacrificing himself in like a fit of like self-loathing for
Yeah.
not having saved Magearna.
Yeah.
Like part of the reason that he's willing to blow himself up with the ship is
Yeah.
just his like
Yeah.
like really like
Yeah.
he's just so distraught that he failed Magearna.
That being
he's, like,
said, I
blowing
do remember
himself
you
up.
saying something that you.
Oh yeah, I was just like, if the Pokemon movies had like the guts to make Volcanion actually dead at the end of this movie, I would have cried for sure.
Yeah.
like the
Because
knowing.
that's the thing is, you're like, okay, but obviously he's gonna be alive at the end.
Yeah, I know. Like you know.
Which is
that.
good. Like, it's not like we
Yeah.
want him to die, but like, you know.
Yeah. So like that everything was just executed so well. I was just like, I straight up will cry if like he like falls over and he's like, I die. Like I did save your heart and you remember me, but I die. That would have been so sad. Like
Yeah.
seriously. Oh, and he calls Pikachu electric nuisance throughout the movie, which is like, and he's just a great Volcanion's a great Pokemon like lead character in a way that I cannot think of another one being like that. So yeah, I had a lot of good feelings about this movie. There's maybe one thing that I was gonna say that I don't remember.
I mean, I'll just say right here and now, we both put this at the top of our lists for the re-ranking.
Oh yeah,
I think we can just go ahead and say that for this one.
Yeah.
We both had no question about that.
Yeah. I think for a little while I was like, is the Shaman movie better? Am I forgetting or something like that? But then I thought about it for a little bit more. I was like, no.
Yeah. The emotional impact of this one is just really like far exceeds any movie we've watched so far.
Yeah.
Quite frankly.
Like very unexpected, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh shoot, yeah. The one thing that I wanted to say is like kind of like a little down point, like a little issue that I had with this movie is that I personally did not find Magearna particularly compelling as a like co-star for this entire movie. It doesn't help that Magearna has to talk in like boop 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 like the entire movie.
Magearna really acts as a kind of like save the princess character, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
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 Like she's the princess that you need to save, but and her traits are that she is kind and loving and makes you flowers. Like,
yeah, like they try to like make her like quirky and endearing because she does like anime things
like
and like
Trip.
Trips. And, like, she's like an anime girl or something like that. But like overall, not a very compelling character.
Yeah.
Like Volcanion really like took the thing and like made it
Yeah.
sing. Like,
and I think there was supposed to be some sort of implied like, oh, Magearna was like kind of like to this scientist Nicola the way that Victini was to this old king, where they were really close friends and he could like use her strength for this castle thing, but it really wasn't. That was very much inferred because it really wasn't shown in any way. Yeah, so I would agree with that.
Yeah, like a big missed opportunity, honestly, because we all went into this movie going like, we want to see Magearna. She's so cool, like the design is really cool. Like the idea of like a mechanical Pokemon is really cool. Yeah, that becomes
a Pokeball.
Yeah, it like kind of like ducks inside itself and like becomes a little like turtle shell kind of a thing. Yeah, it's cool. It's got a lot of potential that's kind of ultimately wasted, unfortunately.
Yeah. So any last thoughts on Volcanion movie?
No. I love animal friends, and I will electric nuisance.
Yeah,
electric nuisance. Really cute.
All right. So our last movie this time around, which hopefully this I think at least this kind of summary will be shorter than the other ones. Pokemon Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution, which is the 3D version of the Pokemon movie, which the most recent Pokemon movie that we've had here, the 22nd one, came out on Netflix merely like a month and a half ago. So and we actually did watch this one recently, but we had to rewatch it for this. So let's get into the plot of this. Yeah,
so recently watched and recently slapped onto the list. Yeah. So that's why we're watching it now. Most people listening to this podcast will at least have watched this movie. At the start of the movie, a bunch of scientists go through the forest and try to discover the secret of Mew.
Let's just make this fast. They clone Mew to make Mewtwo. Mewtwo is born and says, "Who am I? What am I?" By the way, voiced again by Dan Green Yamayugi in this movie.
Mewtwo.
Not as obvious, but still pretty good. He says, "Who am I?" He tests his strength, destroys the lab. Giovanni shows up and says, "Together we can rule." And Mewtwo battles some Pokemon with him, figures out, "Oh, I'm just here to serve Giovanni."
Giovanni says, "Yes, you're here to serve me."
Breaks out of his chains and escapes Giovanni too. goes to this mysterious island. Cut to Ash and friends. They're on an adventure. They're eating food. This trainer comes up and says, "Are you Ash from Palatown?" For some reason, he knows him. They have a Pokemon battle. He does not faint the Golem this time with an electric attack.
No, they do not.
Team Rocket is there watching. Then suddenly a Dragonite flies in with a invitation saying you're invited to come battle the world's strongest Pokemon trainer. Ash says, "Hell yeah, let's go." Sorry, heck yeah, let's go.
Yeah. But then they go to the dock, and then it's a very stormy day.
Yeah, also Team Rocket manages to catch an invitation too. They go to the dock, it's a really stormy day. They say no boats can go out in a Russian accent. They
say, "Oh, Nurse Joy is missing for some reason. Who knows?"
Yeah, Brock says, "Oh, she looks familiar." They go out on the sea. Well, okay, actually. So they go out.
Yeah.
These other trainers go out with their strong water Pokemon, like a Gyarados and stuff.
Or a Pidgeot, which is really chubby and cute in this movie.
It's very chubby Pidgeot. But Team Rocket shows up with a little swan Lapras boat, singing a song that I wish I could understand the words to a little bit more. They say, "Hey, we'll give you a ride over there."
Yeah, they're in disguise as little jolly sailor people.
Yeah. So they give them a ride over there. The seas are really rough.
And so halfway through, their disguises fall off because of a really big wave. And he's like, "Team Rocket!" And they start doing the motto and are immediately knocked off the ship, or the ship capsizes.
Yeah.
And then Misty brings out Staryu. And I think this part continues from where the original movie was.
They go up. They end up on Staryu. They go up to the gate. The lady Mewtwo's assistant comes up, and Brock says, I knew you. You're Nurse Joy." And she's like, "What? I've been working here ever since the beginning." They go up the stairs. They are in this banquet hall with the other trainers.
There's 3 other trainers other than them.
Meanwhile, Team Rocket is like, "Oh, we got to enter through the sewers."
Mew is hiding around Team Rocket.
Yeah, Mew's flying around this whole time.
Yeah.
The Nurse Joy lady says, "I present to you the world's strongest Pokemon trainer." Mewtwo comes down and she says, "You see, it's also a Pokemon."
And then the guy's like, "A Pokemon can't be a Pokemon trainer." And then Mewtwo's like, "Get out of here," and throws him into a fountain. Yeah,
Mewtwo shows off his strength by attacking a lot of their Pokemon. Meanwhile, Team Rocket's down at the bottom. They see these weird Pokemon in tubes, and they're like, "What?" Get some of Meowth's hair, and they see a new Meowth coming down, so they figure out this is a cloning machine. Mewtwo explains something about humans.
Humans are weak. Pokemon just serve your humans. Yeah. Pokemon should not. Pokemon are not fit to rule. Humans are not fit to rule.
He's basically so I will create my own
world.
My own world of master race clone Pokemon. He opens up his arena. He says, "Look, I've got a Charizard, a Blastoise, and a Venusaur." The trainers happen to have all of them, including Ash's Charizard. They go out to the battlefield and they fight one-on-one for each of them, and they show off how strong the clone Pokemon are.
Yeah. Shell Shocker.
Oh yeah, Shell Shocker, Brute Root, and Charizard.
The 3 starters from the good guys lose to the clone Charizard, Venusaur, and Blastoise.
So Mewtwo says, "See how strong my Pokemon are? Now I'm gonna catch your Pokemon with his little Millennium Eye Pokeballs."
Yeah, so a bunch of these floating Pokeballs just start snatching all of the heroes' Pokeballs away. Pokemon away. They're all getting sucked
even
up
if they're in
into
the Pokeballs.
Yeah, even if
Pikachu's running up the DNA-shaped stairs.
Yeah,
but even Pikachu ends up getting sucked into the Pokeball. But Ash follows it down into the cloning room. Ash rescues Pikachu after it gets its DNA from the thing, and all the trainers' old Pokemon pop out. But all these clone Pokemon are out too.
Yeah, and then meantime, Mewtwo is hanging out with the other trainers going "You can go home if you want." Psych! You can't get home!
Yeah, so Mewtwo's got all his cloned Pokemon of their Pokemon out.
And so they all come out, the clone Pokemon, and then the ground explodes, and then Ash marches up with all of the original Pokemon and goes, "You can't do this! Yeah. We won't let you!" Yeah. And then all of the Pokemon start fighting their clones.
Fighting one-on-one. Mewtwo's like, "We need to test our power." Mew shows up to save Ash after Mewtwo blasts him.
Ash.
And Mewtwo's like, "Mew, you're the one that I need to test my power against." Yeah. So everyone's battling each other.
Mew and Mewtwo are fighting each other in the sky. Everybody's fighting each other except for Meowth, because clone Meowth walks up to Meowth, and then the clone Meowth, this is different. It's like, "Those claws look like they hurt, don't they?" or something. Yeah. And Meowth's like, "My claws would hurt you too."
And
like,
the clone Meowth kind of gives up, and it starts just like licking itself like a cat.
Yeah.
And then it's looking up at the moon, and Meowth's like, "You're a chill guy," or whatever.
Yeah, looking at the moon at a time like this.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought?
Yeah.
And that's it for that scene.
So all the Pokemon are fighting. Nurse Joy and Brock are like, they're gonna fight until one of them can't fight anymore because Pokemon are territorial or something.
And living things will fight until the other living things cannot, or something like that.
Yeah, so
Pikachu slaps the other Pikachu.
Yeah.
You know how it goes.
Yeah, so this goes on and on and on until Ash finally gets down from where he was up there, and he runs in the middle of Mewtwo and Mew's attack. And there's a big explosion. He falls to the ground, and he's made of stone. Pikachu runs up to him, electrocutes him, goes, Pika, Pika, Pika-Pee, Pika-Pee.
Chill! And everything's all dead quiet all of a sudden. Everybody's staring at Ash turned into stone.
Pikachu starts crying. All the Pokemon start crying, and their tears come, and they revive Ash as Mewtwo watches on. And then Mewtwo is up in the air, and he says, I see now that the circumstances of one's birth are irrelevant. It is what you do with the gift of life that determines who you are.
And basically floats all of the clone Pokemon up. And they all fly up into the sky and go like, this has been a very good learning experience for me, but it is better than you forget it. I need to
go to a place where I can, until my heart can learn what yours knows so well.
Yeah.
Another good line.
And then he's like, it's better that you don't remember this. And then he and all of the clone Pokemon fly away.
And then all of a sudden, Ash and Misty and Brock are back at the place, and they're saying, there's a hurricane. You can't go out anymore. Then the hurricane abruptly ends, and they're like, why were we here? And then Ash sees Mew in the air, and he's like, I saw a great legendary, a really rare Pokemon on my first day out as a Pokemon trainer. And I just saw one now. And then the movie's over?
Yeah.
Okay. That was like the fastest we've ever done it.
Yep.
So, our experience watching this movie first, about a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
Obviously, we remember the first movie pretty well. We watched it. I think I definitely saw it in theaters. I have the 3 cards that you get. One of them is an Electabuzz. I don't know why. We've rewatched it a number of times throughout our life at various points. So maybe we should start by saying this. So this is like the most difficult movie on the list to rank and to talk about because it's the only remake so far. Yeah. Cross our fingers, hopefully the only remake ever of a Pokemon movie. So it's impossible to rank it as its own movie because we know the first movie. So it's impossible to not compare it. Yeah. But we also don't want to rank it as like, was it better than the first movie or worse than the first? It's kind of hard to do. So I think anywhere we rank it, it's going to feel kind of wrong.
Yeah, there's going to be huge asterisks over this ranking.
Yeah. So I guess with that being said, I think the animation in this movie, it's 3...
Why don't you start with what you thought about it a month and a half ago? I don't know if this format is... Oh, okay, yeah, go ahead.
This was so recently. I remember more specifically what I thought about it, which is this... It's animated in this 3D clay kind of style, which I think works really well for some things. Some Pokemon look really cute. Yeah. Some Pokemon, I would say, look better. Some, like, the water looks amazing during the storm. The Lapras boat is really cool.
Cool, plasticky.
Yeah, some of it is really, really incredible in this style. Some of it really does not hit the same way. No. Ash's face looks wrong. I'm sorry. It doesn't look quite right. I think Misty and Brock look more okay, but Ash's face looks just a little too off for me. Yeah. I also think some of the... In the same kind of remake of the Lion King way, I think some of the emotional moments... the expressiveness of the Pokemon's faces isn't quite the same, and of the people's faces. I really am upset that they took out Meowth's line. Yeah. That was the big thing I took away when we first watched it. I was really mad that they took out Meowth saying the same oath, the same air, the same sky. Maybe if we could start looking at what's the same rather than what's different. Well, who knows? They took that out. I have no clue why they took that out. That's like the other classic line from that movie, I think. I did really like the Lapras boat. I thought that was a neat addition. I think it was more interesting than seeing them just kind of all cross on their cool Pokemon. Yeah, my main thing was the art style because mostly it's a shot-by-shot remake of the original movie. Yeah. What about you? The first time we watched it?
Well, the first time we watched it. I I don't really know. We just kind of watched it, and I was like, okay, I don't know. It didn't excite me or anything. I think at the time, harsher than I will be in a few seconds, maybe, that when we talk about how I felt about it this time, where I was like, nothing was really that impressive in terms of the art style, is how I felt at the time. Especially given the way that I wrote about the first movie previously, where I talked about the loving, like, beautiful, like, lavish production values that it felt like you get when you watch the original 1999, the first movie. I didn't feel that way when we watched it, like, a month and a half ago. And so I came away just kind of feeling like, I don't know why they made this, honestly. Like,
I mean, I know why they made this.
Well,
Pokemon's really big right now, and they're cashing in on it. They're partnering with Netflix. Netflix is really big right now. I think it's obvious why they made it.
Yeah, I know, but, like, the decision...
Not to say that it was a purely evil, like, corporation move, although,
But, like, in a world where, like, it's kind of interesting, right? Like, because, like, I Choose You, which is a movie we'll talk about later, is a remake, but just in a new animation rather than...
It's also not a remake.
Right, of
course. The, like, first, like, 10 minutes of the movie are a remake, and that's it.
Yeah, so I'm just, like, it's an interesting choice to use this kind of, like, clay style, and when I watched it a month and a half ago, I was not, like, terribly impressed.
Yeah.
I think all I remembered was that the Pidgeots are really chubby, they're really cute.
We were really amazed by that the first time we watched it, and that's still true.
That's still true, yeah. I guess, in a sense, like, you get a sense of the dimensions of a Pokemon in the way that you didn't otherwise when you see them in 3D, and so that's kind of part of why I was like, oh, the Venusaur looks like a huge frog.
Oh, and, it does. It looks way more frog-like.
Yeah, and Pidgeot's real chubby, and it's kind of how I felt. I didn't really have much to say about it. It was really like, we did it, we fulfilled our obligations, let's go to bed, when we watched it like a month and a half ago.
So rewatching it, and where we ranked it. So I once again ranked it where I originally ranked the Volcanion movie, which was, I ranked it above Volcanion because I didn't remember that movie, and I ranked it under Lucario because I remembered that movie being really good. And that's all.
And so I guess maybe to say, I'm pretty sure you did this too, but when we ranked it originally, we were using the same method that we're using now, which is treating it on its own merit as a movie. As in, like, we're not saying something relative to the old movie. Like, I guess the best way of saying...
I don't know. I think it's impossible to do that because we both know the first movie well enough.
Okay.
That it's impossible to say we're doing that. I don't know that we talked about that part of it too specifically when we first did it.
Well, I don't know if we talked about it, but that's how I did it at the time. So that's why, like, because I think that if I was to rank it as, like, how do I feel about this movie existing in a world where the other one already existed, I would have ranked it lower than I did in the original list.
Okay. So where did you rank it?
I ranked it fairly close to the top. It was above I Choose You. It was above the Kira movie. It was in the Department of Zoroark. It was a little below the Volcanion movie, which, I guess, to say in short, like, I arbitrarily placed it close to the top because I was just like, if in a world in which the original movie didn't exist, this is still incredible in that it's very like the original movie, but it's not as good. So I'll put it here, like, kind of close to the top.
That was kind of my mindset too.
Yeah.
So rewatching it, did you have any new thoughts from a month ago?
Well, I guess I want to start off by saying, not that I'm going to reveal its ranking right now because we have our format. I'll talk about it where it ranks afterwards. But I was trying my best to rank this movie on its own merits, as if the original movie did not exist. And so in my mind, when I was looking at this movie and trying to, like, evaluate it, I was trying to, like, treat it as, like, in a world in which Pokemon 2000 was the first movie that ever came out for Pokemon. So the second movie, pretending that was the first movie and the original movie never existed, like Mewtwo, like, wiped it out of our brain or something like that. And so when I was watching this movie, I was like, okay, this movie's really good. I like this movie. Pokemon, the first movie, is always a good time, is how I felt. Yeah. I was ready to, like, be irritated that I was watching this movie again, like, a month and a half. And then I couldn't. Within, like, a half hour or so, I was very engaged because it's a good movie and it always has and it always will be. And I guess what I noticed more this time around was that in a lot of different contexts, like what Gigi was saying, like, the animation does make a few things look really, really good. I think, the water effects were really beautiful, and the Pokemon, again, like I said, you see a different dimension of them being in 3D. I do still assert that the faces don't look as expressive. Like, it's kind of a weird thing to say out of I'm sure we're going to watch the original movie and it's going to be just this giant, like, very simply drawn face. Like, the art style in Pokemon is not particularly detailed, but the point is not
about
detail.
detail.
Yeah, it's about, like, the subtleties of the way that
that's
it's
why
drawn.
I think The Lion King is a good example.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that the subtleties, I don't know if it's because you can't, like, animate, like, when you're animating, like, a 3D face, you're putting, like, little, like, vectors on each of the parts of the face. You're trying to, like, get it to, like, squishy, move in a squishy human kind of a way, which when you're doing, like, a drawn animation, you can, like, you're going frame by frame and moving it like that. Whereas in this way, it's, they're just kind of clay. Like, it doesn't feel as expressive on, like, the close-ups of people's faces, not of the close-ups of Ash, not of the close-ups of Pikachu, not of the close-ups of Meowth. Like, and so I, came away feeling positive about the art style for its own merit, and also again was like, this is a good movie. I do like this movie. I'll always listen to Mewtwo say that line. I'll always watch Ash die and get revived, and I'll always watch those Dugong cry. They're cute Dugong, So I really enjoyed it this time around is what I'm trying to say. And I found that the art style really works in certain aspects.
I think my feelings didn't change too much. I don't think there was too much new that I felt that I didn't feel the first time we watched it, especially since it was so recently. I think what I will say is that this, like Alex said, or Walex, what are we calling you?
Walex.
Like Walex said, I think this is the one that has the biggest asterisk next to it.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is that I think it's impossible. Like, I think we can try to think about it in a world where the first movie doesn't exist. But I think it's also true that world doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And that's not the world that we're in, and that's not the people we are. So I think for me, I feel differently about it depending on who I'm talking to. Because I think part of the reason that we're making this list, which most of the reasons it is because we can, but it's why not. But I think when I think about where I'm ranking stuff and why, I like to think about, if these movies were on someone's shelf and they hadn't seen any of them, what would I recommend, right? And I think for this movie in particular, the answer is different depending on if I'm talking to someone who has seen the first movie or someone who has never seen the first movie. The issue there being that I feel like I'd be hard-pressed to find a Pokemon fan who has not seen Pokemon the first movie. But I think if you have seen the first movie, and maybe this is the only one where I'll kind of go in depth to a recommendation, but if you have seen the first movie already and you haven't seen this new 3D remake, it's on Netflix. I would recommend checking it out. I think it adds some stuff that is kind of interesting. I think it's kind of cool to see this classic movie in, like, this new style. A lot of it is shot by shot, so you're gonna get, like Alex said, you're gonna retain the moving plot, the interesting, storyline and stuff. You're gonna retain all the things that you really liked about the first movie, except that Meowth line. I think that's really the only thing that they took out that really bothers me. Unless you really liked seeing Golem get fainted by an electric attack. I would say, like, go ahead and check it out. Like, I think it's good.
It's on Netflix. It's free. Or, like, with your subscription.
Yeah. I think if I was talking to someone who had not seen the first movie, I would say go watch the first movie.
Yeah.
I think is the difference. I would say, if you really like 3D animation, you can watch this instead. Yeah. But I don't think I would ever rightfully recommend this above the original first movie. I mean, we'll see when we rewatch the first movie. I can't say that for sure now. Yeah. But so I think this one has a big asterisk. I think wherever we rank it, it's going to feel wrong because there's so many different ways for us to think about it. And I really, really hope that they don't remake another movie because this is such a pain.
And here's another way to think about that movie. I'm just like, if all of these movies were on a shelf and you had watched the original movie before, I'm just like, would I recommend watching a movie you've seen before or all of these movies you haven't seen before with plots that you haven't experienced?
Yeah.
Like, that would make Mewtwo 3D go even lower, like, because I'm just like, guess what? There's other great movies that I can recommend.
I think in that world, I would rank it lower than we ended up ranking them. And I think this one, maybe I'll move around later. Like this, I think this is the only movie that I feel like I reserve to the right to, like, move around in a couple of weeks.
And it's meaningless.
If it feels wrong.
Doesn't matter.
I was honestly, before we watched it, I was like, wait, this is a Netflix movie. Maybe it's not a Pikachu Project movie, and maybe we don't have to rank it. Not because it's not good and I didn't want to watch it, but, like, because it's just the ranking is such an issue because it's completely unique among all the other movies on the list. So,
But then, like, the first 5 minutes, it said, in association with the Pikachu Project.
Yeah, so
we went on Bulbapedia. The movie's called M22.
Yeah. So in conclusion, I will say I ended up ranking it at the top of our list right now. That feels wrong, but if I had ended up ranking it, I was considering putting it under Volcanion. I think if I'd put it there, I would also feel like that was wrong. So
yeah.
Right now it's at the top of the list. I have no idea what will go below it or what will go above it. I think it's going to be an imperfect ranking no matter what. The rest of them are absolutely perfect and we're completely correct about them.
Absolutely,
but this one might be an imperfect ranking.
Might be imperfect. And for me, I'm just like, in a world in which Pokemon 2000 was the first movie, and this movie had never come out before, and this was an entirely original product of 2020. People would have lost their minds over this movie if it came out for the first time right now, and, you know, the Volcanion movie's not that, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't jump out of my seat trying to recommend this movie.
Yeah,
you know?
So I think that's why we both ranked it at the top of our list right now.
Which feels terrible. I almost want to, like, say, like, next week we're going to, like, say that... whether or not the Mewtwo 3D movie is better or worse, I want to stop talking about it. So, like, it's going to be weird attempting to decide whether or not Mewtwo 3D is better than the movies next week, and I almost want to, like... like, it's an unnecessary, unimportant distinction to say whether or not this movie in a world
it's
where...
really just, like, maybe we should just put a big parentheses around it at the final
list,
just
never
you know?
touch it.
Yeah. So
honestly, a part of me wants to re-rank this after we're done with this podcast, based on you are a Pokemon fan and you've watched the first movie, and we are making movie recommendations to you, this Pokemon fan. Yeah. And, like, you know, where would that go? And that's maybe an interesting question. Probably the most relevant one, given that the audience of this podcast has probably seen the first movie and is probably a Pokemon fan. Yeah. And so, like, that would actually... I don't know
why someone who isn't a Pokemon fan would be like, hey, which Pokemon movie should I watch?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, like, you know, in that world, like, you know, off the top of my head, I would put this, like, quite low. Like, you know, watch other movies with interesting experiences.
Yeah, watch new movies
Maybe
first.
That's even too brutal, because, like, I would say, like, you know, even if you just want to refresh your memory on Pokemon 2000, go ahead and watch that rather than watching the exact same movie that you know almost back to front again. Like, the only movie
But sometimes you want to do that.
Yeah.
Which is also fair.
True. I don't know. It's hard to say.
I want to say one thing that I forgot to say before we wrap up with Mewtwo 3D, which is what we're calling this one, which is that I do think that this movie, and I don't remember how they do this or how well they do this in the original first movie, I do think that they give a really clear progression of Mewtwo suddenly existing, being like, what am I? Who am I? What am I here for? Partnering with Giovanni, realizing that Giovanni, kind of it's his emotional journey, even in that brief first, like, 10 minutes or whatever, of how he gets to the place that he is. Yeah. For most of the rest of the movie, where he's like, you know what? All I can do in this world is gain power. Yeah. This world that created me. So I think it does a really good job of kind of showing that, how he can get from being born to that place quite so quickly. Yeah. That's the last thing I want to say. It's still the first movie. It's still good. There was one more thing that I wanted to say about this movie, which, man, like, I'm just losing things out of my brain today. I can't remember. You keep talking or finishing up the podcast or whatever, and okay. If it comes to you, it comes to you. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Okay, so that about wraps it up. Again, I'm really excited now because we're gonna rewatch some movies that I don't remember very well, but were ranked pretty highly. So let's go back and kind of give our list one more time from bottom to top. Yeah. So at the very bottom in both of our lists is Pokemon Ranger, on its own in that bottom tier. Second tier up, from the bottom up, we have Pokemon 2000.
Let's give them letters, maybe, just so it's easier for people
I think
to
at
follow.
The end we need to give them letters.
Okay.
So second tier up, bottom to top, we have Pokemon 2000, Genesect and Mewtwo Want a Home, Latios and Latias, Hooparang, and then Victini and the Diaspora at the top of that second to last tier. Right above it, we have our first and still only disagreement, which is at the bottom of the third tier up. I have the Rise of Darkrai at the bottom, and then Arceus and the Jewel of Life.
And it's flipped for me.
Alex has that flipped. Above those two, we have Diancie Diamond Movie. Above that, we have Shaman Helps Everyone Escape. Shaman Helps Everyone Escape. Above that, we have Uncle Volcanion and the Animal Friends. And above that, we have Mewtwo 3D. currently topping the list. The next movies we are going to watch are first...
Oh, I remembered my comment on the
go.
Mewtwo movie.
Go.
I just wanted to say, like, you know, to talk about specifics about this new movie, Dan Green, good performance. Like, I just want to say, overall...
Good job, Dan Green.
Yami...
we forgot he was Yami Yugi.
Yeah, like, I detected he was Yami Yugi early on because I've been watching a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! And then I looked it up, and sure enough, it was him, but it was, like, a little hard to tell. He does a similar tone. He does the deep voice, authoritative, like, you know, like, very, like... you know, aggressive, like, you know, deep voice kind of a tone, same as, like, the Pharaoh, Atem, Yami, Yugi, whatever.
Yeah.
But manages to do it differently enough that you can't really tell it's him. So good job, Dan Green. He was not Mewtwo in the original movie. I'm sure he was excited for the role of a lifetime.
Yeah.
After coming back for the new Yu-Gi-Oh movie, Dark Side of Dimensions, to come to a new Pokemon remake movie. Mewtwo Strikes Back and play the, you know, titular Mewtwo.
Yeah.
So good job, Dan Green. You're still performing good stuff.
All right. So the next movies that we're watching.
Ooh, yes.
First.
In some order. It's kind of unclear
think...
what the order is, but I'm pretty sure these two should be the first two.
Okay, yeah. So first we're going to watch I Choose You. Pokemon the Movie, I Choose You, the 20th Pokemon movie.
I think that's correct.
Then we are going to watch... what is this movie called?
It's like... what is it? His name and the Sword of Justice.
Pokemon the Movie,
Keldeo.
Kyurem and the Sword of Justice. Because Keldeo is the Sword of Justice.
Yeah, so, sorry. Kyurem versus the Sword of Justice.
Yeah.
Pokemon movie, yeah.
And then we will watch Lucario and the Mystery of Mew.
Mystery of Mew
are the next 3 movies we're going to watch.
These are creeping up to some of the highest ranked movies.
I'm going to say right now, neither of us remember very much about the Kyurem movie.
No.
And neither of us have any idea why it's ranked so highly for me and still pretty high for Walex.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see whether that's actually as good as we remember, because I remember nothing about that movie. Yeah. Apparently it was good.
And I'm excited to see I Choose You, which is a very divisive movie. Both of us recognize that it's not very good.
So, I think maybe in some ways I Choose You is my Hoopa movie. Where I think I'm going to end up having to rank it quite a bit lower than I want to, and then I did the first time around. But I think I'm still gonna love it as much as I did the first
What a wasted
time.
opportunity that movie was. Anyway, we'll see if we feel the same way.
Yeah. And Lucario I'm excited for because I ranked a bunch of later stuff below it because I was like, well, it's not better than Lucario. I remember that movie being really good. So we'll see that one too. And that one's a lot higher up for you too. So
yeah.
So I'm excited for those. All right. That wraps it up. Our podcasts keep getting longer somehow. I guess because we have more to say.
So
now that we've got a lot more to
movies and we're actually ranking them
to compare with. All right. Any last words?
No.
Okay.
I never want to talk about Mewtwo movie again.
Okay. Great. Sounds good. Let us know what you thought of the Mewtwo 3D movies. And some of you might have actually seen it. If you have, let us know. Message me on Facebook.
Yeah.
We will continue playing Animal Crossing every day and washing our hands a lot.
Yeah.
And enjoying watching these movies almost every day. We have been taking some breaks because every once in a while we're like, can we just have a day off? Although that might be less now since these are all going to be pretty much good movies that we're going to watch from now on. I'm really happy. I'm really happy.
Yeah.
All right. We will talk to you later. Have a great time. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Bye.